Okay, so you remember in our last video, as my phone tries to focus on what I'm doing to her. Okay. Remember in our last video, we talked about how covalent compounds, the names came as a prefix element with an IDE. Now, I took my little piece of paper and I actually wrote that across the top here. So as we look at each of our compounds and try to find a name from a formula, we just sit here with this formula, with this pattern right in front of us, okay, and follow right along. So for the first element, I need a prefix and an element. Remember, we never ever start with a mono. Okay? So this simply is sulfur. Okay, and then for our second element, we need a prefix. There's two of them, so that's di, element, ox, and then we end it in an IDE, dioxide. Okay, so there's your element, and without the spaces here, right? So sulfur dioxide. Okay, you can do exactly the same thing all the way down. So our first element here, this capital P, I need a prefix. It would be mono, but we don't start with mono, so we come over to the element, phosphorus. I ran into the next one, right? Here, we'll scoot it over. It's glory of this thing, right? Prefix, there's 4, so that's tetra. The element, chlorine, so we go chlor, and make sure you end it in an IDE. Like that, right? Okay. This one, we need a prefix for our first element. There's a 2, so we do start it with a 2, di, and we write simply sulfur. So disulfur, there's 2 sulfurs. Prefix, there's only 1 hydrogen, so we can call it mono this time. We can start the second word with a mono, but never ever the first. So mono, the element is hydrogen, so we start to write that. But we stop before we get to the end and make sure that it has an IDE at the end. Okay, one more. Okay, I have a carbon, but there's 2, so I say it is dicarbon. Okay, prefix, there's 6 here, so hex. Hide. Like that. Okay, and really that is all there is to naming these compounds. If you know this pattern right here, covalent compounds inside and out are very, very, very easy. Once again, the only hard part is remember that this 2 is still part of the carbon. No switching, none of the crazy stuff that we had to do with the ionic compounds. So when you name a covalent compound, as soon as you identify it as a covalent compound, all you have to do is tell me there are dicarbon, there are 2 carbon atoms, and hexahydride, there are 6 hydrogen atoms, and end it in an IDE because it's a compound, and all compounds need to end with an E. Okay? Thank you.